Hi everyone, I hope you people are doing good. Today I'm going to share with you people how I got 9 out of 9 in IELTS speaking test. Remember, you will be given a band score in your speaking test out of 9. Okay, and your examiner assesses your performance against 4 criteria, and they are: first, your fluency; second, your grammatical accuracy; third, your lexical resources, I mean what type of vocabularies you use, whether they are standard or not; and the last one is your pronunciation. Okay, let me explain a little bit the first one, fluency. Okay, some people by nature talk a bit faster. Now, if you see me talking in my day-to-day life, you'll find me that I always, even when I speak in Bengali, I talk a little faster. So this is how I talk by nature. Okay, some people, they are very quiet, organized and composed, and you find them talk very slowly and in a very organized manner. Now, I would say, like, in both cases, they are fluent. But in your IELTS test, I would rather reckon that you try and slow down. So when you are making sentences, you make sure you focus on each and every word, and then you make sure each and every word is sounded clearly. So your examiner shouldn't be struggling to understand what you have said. So I would rather reckon, if even you are a fast speaker, you slow yourself down and try and talk a little slower and clearly, right? Okay, so what you're trying to avoid is, sometimes when you make sentences, sometimes we fumble, right? You repeat a word like 2-3 times, right? So you have to avoid doing all these things and stop taking unnecessary pauses in between words and sentences, obviously. So make sure the pace you maintain, the pace is very, very consistent, and your examiner doesn't have any difficulty understanding you. So that's what we call fluency. Now, I'll tell you what, if you are planning to hit your IELTS speaking test like in the next 3 or 4 months time, I would rather recommend that you start speaking English, because spoken English is something that you cannot really develop overnight. It takes you time to be fluent, right? So genuinely, if you want to sound fluent, you make sure you start speaking from now on. Okay, the second criteria is grammatical accuracy. Now, I'll tell you what, many people, they speak English without grammar. Even you will find many people, they speak Bengali without grammar, right? Okay, now, grammatical accuracy and a range of grammar that you use, this is very, very, very important. So it actually means, like, when you are making a sentence, right, you can make complex sentences, you can make compound sentences, right? You can make a sentence starting with gerund, right? So we actually call it a range of grammar. And then accuracy, how accurately you can use the grammar when you're speaking. So this is very, very, very important, because remember, that is a very formal interview. That's a very formal interview, and you got to be speaking very, very formally, sticking to typical grammar, right? So this is very, very important. You got to be grammatically accurate. Now, if you're not grammatically accurate, I would say that there are people who speak fluently, but they actually come up with so many grammatical errors. Again, you are going to be punished for that. So make sure you are grammatically correct. Okay, the third criteria is your lexical resources. Now, normally, when we talk, look, if you want to get up to 7, you don't need to use like lofty or standard vocabs. But if you want to hit like 7.5, 8 or more than 8, you remember you need to be using a number of standard vocabs. Vocabs means they are not normally used by people. They are different. So try and use a variety of vocabularies when you're speaking if you have an intention to hit 8, 8.5 or even a full band score 9 out of 9. Okay. The last criteria is your pronunciation. Again, that's a very common question. Does your accent help you get a very good band score? Now, I would say no. Now, I've personally experienced, I attempted IELTS twice in London, and those who are native speakers, I found that they actually end up having a very poor band score, especially in the speaking test. You know why? Because when they talk way faster than us, and you know what? When they talk, I would say like 30 to 40% words and sentences they already keep inside their mouths, so they are not really clear when they speak. And as a result, what happens? It impacts their band score. So you make sure when you're talking louder. Each and every word you utter is clearly understood. So I was talking about pronunciation. Now listen. For example, there's a word like E-N-O-U-G-H. This is enough. Enough. Remember, both in British and American English, this is enough. Now, if you sound that enough, you are wrong with that pronunciation. I hope you get that. Now, for example, entrepreneur. Now, there are many people, they pronounce this entrepreneur. So that is going to be wrong. No, so it's never about accent. Remember, what is accent? Accent is if you stay in one particular place for a longer period of time and the place itself has an impact on your soul, mind and body, then you develop an accent. Accent can never be copied. You stay in an environment, you talk to people, interact with them, and very steadily you develop certain things, the way of pronouncing words, the way of delivering words, the way of making sentences. You pick them up very steadily in an environment. That's what we call accent. So accent should not be copied. So you people do not worry about accent. Rather, you focus on the right pronunciation of all those words. So if you focus on these 4 things, again, you know what? When I was in front of the examiner and I was having my test, seriously, you cannot really remember all those things like I got to use a number of vocabs, that I have to be grammatically perfect, all those things. You cannot remember all of them when you're talking. So what do? You have to develop a habit. So habit is what when you speak in, normally, once you start speaking, you will automatically turn fluent about like in 3-4 months time. Okay? Have a tendency from now on to use a number of vocabs. Again, you cannot keep in your mind all the time that you ought to be using a number of vocabs. It will come out automatically because you don't really know what question you are going to be asked, right? And all that, what vocabs you're going to be used. So you got to be using all the vocabs very, very naturally. So normally, if you're not in a habit into using them vocabs, right, you cannot really use them in your exam. So to make sure, you have to start practicing all these things from now on. And grammatical accuracy, again, the more you talk, the more you discuss about your grammatical issues, grammatical problems with your teachers and other friends, those who can rectify your mistakes, the better I would say you're performing them, right? So it's a matter of total practice. So bear in mind, you're very good at those 4 criteria, and you start taking your preparation, and please make sure you keep them criteria in your mind from now on and practice accordingly, and you'll hit a very good band score in your IELTS speaking test. So I'll see you later on with some other video some other time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.